Once home to the most wondrous kingdom the world had ever known, blasted to nothing in just a fortnight. It is here that the fiends of hell walk among us. It is here where all things die. Welcome to Cryforth. Demon invaders roam the landscape and have conquered all. The world is a ravaged and wrathful wasteland where the old world lies buried beneath the blood and sand with its gods and its secrets. Water is fought over with blood and steel. Compatible with the 5th edition of the world's oldest fantasy role-playing game, this book contains all new character creation options, including all of the familiar classes with new aspects befitting the ravaged wastelands of Cryforth, along with new backgrounds, subclasses, spells, feats, and so much more. New races will allow you to play as the Cursed Ash Elves, the Forsaken Humans, the Primordial Incarnate, the Proud Orcs, the Reptilian Suri, or the Infernal-Blooded Tieflings. New game mechanics such as blood, grit, and effort give your games an intense focus on lethality and survival. Numerous role tables full of ideas to help bring your games to life. Featuring incredible thematic art by Brandish Gilhelm of Runehammer Games, as well as Lloyd Collins. The people of Cryforth are not heroes. In Cryforth it is courage just to survive. Will you rise to face the tide of demons, or will you succumb to the hostile elements? Available now on DriveThruRPG.com.
A mysterious death curse washes over the land, driven by a powerful artifact known as the Soulmonger. 4 would-be heroes have been sent to the jungles of Chult to destroy the cause of this terrible affliction. Vale, the half-elven paladin, who's just now learning of his divinely granted powers. Ubo, the total monk from a distant land, who's as quick with his wit as he is with his staff. Asimar Warlock, sent on this quest by her temple, discovering herself in this strange new land. And Gunslinger Cole, tiefling artificer and archaeologist who may just dig up more than she bargained for. This motley band of adventurers must work together to brave the poisonous plants, venomous monsters, thundering dinosaurs, and rotting undead of the jungle. Join the omnipotent dungeon master Jake from Mini-Terrain Domain to see if our heroes can find the Soulmonger, uncover the deeper mysteries of Chult, and free the world from the death curse. Welcome to the jungle. Welcome to Chult of Personality.
Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini-Terrain Domain, and this is Chult of Personality, our Tomb of Annihilation, Dungeons and Dragons campaign, happening every Sunday night right here on YouTube and Twitch at 8:30 Eastern. Of course, you know that because you are here, or you're watching later on YouTube, and that's cool too. So we are happy to have you here. Before we get into the game proper, I want to go over a couple of channel things, a couple of announcements. I'm going to have everybody, including our guest, introduce themselves, and then we'll do a recap and get into the actual gameplay. Excuse me. First off, you might notice another, I think this is the 5th, change to the overlay, but I think I finally have it where I want it. And I've subbed out the domain dice for these cool little domain devils. The devil face, along with the background and the devil face appearing right over here in the overlay, and some of the artwork, and of course the intro, all done by the incredible Locrius, who also did all the music as well. And I thought, why in the heck am I not using these? So instead of domain dice, we have domain devils. What are they, you might ask? For every 500 bits or $5 donated on Twitch or through YouTube Super Chat, the players earn a domain die. Also on Twitch, subscriptions, raids, and those kind of things. I throw those up there as well. That allows them to re-roll a D20 roll or to force me to re-roll one of my D20 rolls. It's just a way that you as a viewer can participate in our games and have a little bit of a sort of arcanic influence over the game. And it doesn't always work out in their favor. The other thing is, of course, some people already know this, but relatively recently, Mini Terrain Domain joined Patreon. So I've dropped the link into the chats. Check it out. There are 4 tiers of support and lots of very cool ways in which I can repay you for your support, including blogs, vlogs, early access to one-shots, PDF copies of notes for one-shot games, and all the way at the highest tier, you'll get free copies of adventures that I write. So take a look at that. Consider supporting Mini Terrain Domain at one of those 4 levels. Because of your support, it's how I'm able to do cool things like this and pay for awesome intros and character art and upgrades to the equipment, like this awesome new lighting that I got recently. Next up, while I have our guest here, we're going to talk about this first, then I'm going to have him introduce himself a little more later. But just recently, actually as recent as tomorrow is the 1 week, will mark 1 week since we released Adventure Mixtape, a music and adventure anthology, which was pretty much the, let's face it, it was the brainchild of Ken and Kelsey at the Arcane Library, and they invited Sharong and myself to participate with them. We each wrote an adventure, and in this book you get all 4 of those adventures that take you through. Mine is much like Chult, is a jungle adventure with an awakened jungle demon, very Indiana Jones pulp action. Marquise actually was one of he played a Valor Bard in the original run of the game that served as the first playtest for
Sword
it.
Bard. Thank
what?
you.
Or sorry, yes. So yeah, I knew that, and I say that every time. Valor, Bard of Swords, College of Swords. In that very pulp. In fact, we did like a 1920s intro for that game. And then there's the Treaty of the Tiger King by the Arcane Library. Ken, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your adventure?
Definitely. Happy to. Well, thanks for having me on the channel. Happy to be here. I'm Ken Burlingsbeard. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram and my website. Yeah, we did this awesome anthology together, which is these 4 one-shot adventures, like Jake was saying, which any DM can run in like one night. Each of them you can run in one night. They're also like all based in urban settings, so you can use them with like the new Waterdeep books as well. If you're running any Waterdeep games, they sort of go really well with those. And yeah, it's like 80 pages of content and 4 different songs that were written specifically for the adventures, including the one that is on this channel that Jake uses. So you can like purchase that MP3 and like have it in your collection as well, because it is amazing music on this channel. I think, as we all realize, who doesn't love didgeridoos? But anyways, yeah, I'm Ken. I'm an independent RPG creator and freelance dungeon master in the New York City area. So if you're looking to play games in New York, definitely contact me over my website. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing tonight's game, where I will be reprising sort of this amazing role that is in an amazing place in Chult. So I'm excited to see how all this goes. But yeah, Jake's adventure is amazing. It's actually, we call it the player killer. It's called Gorillas in their midst. It's really good, and it's for a little bit higher levels, like 4th, 5th. Our level adventures are lower levels though, for the most part. So for sort of like beginning adventurers, especially again for that new Waterdeep book that came out that's for low-level adventures.
In fact, if you go on Drive-Thru RPG, which I put the link in the chat, where we are selling it exclusively, we are currently in I believe the top 5 of the low-level adventures on Drive-Thru RPG, and we've consistently been in the top 10 to 20 of top Dungeons and Dragons adventures, and top non-core rule books, hottest low-level adventures, things like that. So head over there, follow the link, check it out. And you hear that, Mike? These games can all be dropped into Waterdeep as side quests. Mike is running our Waterdeep campaign on Monday nights right here on MTD. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead, since Ken, our guest, got to introduce himself already as part of that little bit of a promo. We're going to go around the horn. Everybody tell us who you are, where we can find you, and who you are playing in this campaign. And I'm going to start with Mike.
Hello. Hi. I'm Mike, and I am I run the channel Mike the Piper. I am also the dungeon master, game master, referee, or story master, whatever you want to call that person that does most of the bullshit. And that's this guy. And I do that for Dragon Heist on this very excellent channel on Mondays, starring a few of these crazy cats, along with a few other crazy cats that aren't exactly catting right now. They're off doing their own thing. I'm playing Veil is to Fall. It says it like right there. No, right there, because camera. And I will hopefully won't die, because I'm going to leave all the dying to Marquise, who I think is probably the next person that Jake is going to introduce.
Yes, let's go down to Marquise.
What's up, everybody? I'm Marquise. I got a little excited. Forgive me. I play Dunala. I got it right this time because of Mike's failures. He's a Yuan-Ti shadow sorcerer. He's weird and freaky deaky, man, but he's cool too if you are in the freaky deaky stuff. Go to scavengerworld.net, see some cool 5th edition project I'm working on. Sign up for the playtest that comes out in December, and then come back to this channel and just stare at my beautiful face and listen to my poetry, and there you go.
And I'm sorry you have to follow that, but Megan, you're next.
Yeah, okay. I'm Megan. I am one half of the YouTube channel Dice on Ice, as well as the publishing company Dice on Ice, and we do stuff and things on that channel, and we also write stuff and things, like what you saw at the beginning and what Jake is holding now. Tonight I will be playing Berlinia, the Azamar Warlock.
And speaking of being one half of Dice on Ice, we happen to have the other half of Dice on Ice here as well. Connor, why don't you wrap us up?
Yeah, I am the lesser half of Dice on Ice, part of the same named publishing company, and the co-author, I shall say properly, of the book that you kind of just watched a little preview for earlier. Thank you to Jake for assembling that introduction little video spiel. It's been an honor gazing upon that glory. I am playing Eric, a Aarakocra rogue, a dastardly, heavily accented, beautifully plumaged person who seems to be just running afoul in this group, it seems. With that being said, I don't have much else to plug. I'm looking forward to playing some of the dididis. Thank you.
All right, and of course, I am the MTD Jake, at MTD_Jake on Twitter. I am Mini Terrain Domain here on Twitch and YouTube. And that's all I got to say about that. Let's play some D&D. Recap time. All right. So, the party, of which there are only 2 of the original party members, have come to the land of Chult in order to determine what has caused the death curse that has been plaguing Faerun and all over the realms, where nobody can be resurrected, and anybody that has previously been resurrected has begun to die. They have taken on this mission and have wandered the jungles for 40 days and 40 nights without making a whole lot of ground, uncovering bits and pieces here and there. And then finally, they seem to have started to be pulled along some plots, losing some party members along the way, with Yanti involvement, their own guide, after nearly 2 weeks of loyal involvement with them. Suddenly, they learned that she had betrayed them. They've traveled far and wide across the land, intersecting with one Artis Cimber and his Sariel companion Dragonbait off and on. Most recently, at Camp Vengeance, they showed up in an airship. And after the group worked to fight off a large undead insurrection, and Dunala dealt with Salida, the guide's betrayal, in a fatal way, they hopped on the airship and began flying towards Kir Sabal. They were attacked by Terrafolk, and then Vale. What the hell are you doing, Marquise?
I was watching my hair move back and forth. I'm sorry.
This is why I want to kill you next. I'm just kidding. Vale went into a fugue state, sort of, and Ubtao sort of pointed him towards Firefinger. As they began to descend, the balloon of the airship began to become detached. They had to quickly descend Vale and Berlinia by rope. Ubo wound up staying on board to help hold the ship together, and Dunala mysteriously faded away into shadow, where he walked dreams for an indeterminate period of time, while Vale and Berlinia went into the Firefinger, having already killed most of the Terrafolk that had attacked the airship. They found Eric had been captured and held captive inside. They descended down the interior of the Firefinger, faced off against a few giant wolf spiders and a cloaker that had been hiding in the shadows of the small cavern, and nearly did a couple of them in. But fortunately, during that point, Dunala re-emerged from the dreamwalk state, where Dunala had learned a few things about the so-called voice of Ubtao that had been speaking to Vale. They dealt with all of this, survived barely, escaped the Firefinger, and then they went into the jungles where they set up camp once they found safety. And this is where we pick up. It's been about 3 or 4 days. You've journeyed through the jungle. You've used your collapsible boat, your magic foldable boat, to traverse the river southward for a ways until Eric indicated it was time to move inland again. And you have finally made your way through the jungle to the base of the large plateau along whose cliffs Kir Sabal is located. Before we get to the ascension, what would you, how would your conversations have gone over the last 4 days? Just kind of, what would have emerged as the most important conversations you would have had, since Eric is a new a rescue, as it would be. I imagine you have questions for Eric, and Eric has questions for you. So I'm going to turn you guys loose for a little bit to traverse the journey to Kir Sabal.
I imagine at one point when we were like traveling down the river, Dunala would have been grilling Vale on what he saw in his vision when he was brought to the heart of Ubtao. He was asking him all these questions and then like cross-referencing with what he saw when he went there about the so-called voice of Ubtao and everything else.
Yeah, I would also the same. because I'd be more coming from like more from an area of confusion, seeing as how I don't have either the wisdom or the ability to see past that sort of a thing. But I mean, I think the only thing I would mention, like, well, are you sure it was the same person? I mean, are you sure that you didn't just go somewhere else?
Elven woman, bats, tree, kind of skylight, library and desk.
Yeah.
And then, go ahead.
Well, I mean, right, yeah, but I mean, what if, maybe that was sent, you were sent somewhere else with someone else who knew what the voice of Utao looked like. So
You are
she
not
just,
Chultan, but you do not understand. The heart of Ubtao is a sacred place to us who hold to the old ways. There's no mistaking where I was, and she called herself the voice, and I knew her to lie. Ubtao would not, his voice would not be in the form of something undead. That is a curse on Chult.
I guess you're right. Hey, on a total side note, if we were ever starving to death, I mean, would it be really weird or some form of cannibalism if we ate Eric? I mean, he's a bird, right? So I mean, he's just like an overgrown turkey, a chicken, or something. So I mean, if we were really hungry, I mean, would it be so bad to just kill and eat Eric? I mean,
cannibalism. He's not human or wanty.
Well, I guess that's true. That's a good point. I mean, unless you subscribe to the really weird, far out scientific notion that birds and reptiles are the same, but that's just silly.
I don't know what you're referencing, and I don't think it makes any sense.
No, see, I don't think so either.
No.
All right, well,
I can. Excuse me, Eric. What was that?
You know, I can hear you all this time.
Yeah, I know, but we're talking about you, not to you. So don't worry about it.
It's a very nuanced difference.
Yeah, no, definitely. What do you think, Brill?
I think you guys should stop teasing him.
Teasing? Dunala does not tease, he just postulates.
All right, fine.
But to answer your question, Vale, I can speak to snakes, so if we're ever starving, I can, if you're okay with it. I'm assuming you have eaten snake before.
No, actually, I've not. Just kind of been one of those things that haven't really gone down that path.
It's not bad, but they talk a lot that, well, you won't understand. Never mind.
No, that's, well, I mean, I can speak with animals.
They tend to wiggle at the last moment, you know.
They do? I see.
If you do not clip them off their head if at the right time, you know, they wiggle at least a little bit, you know.
Very true. Now, for me, that I think is more closer to cannibalism, since Wanty and snakes are supposedly the conversation.
Yeah, I think that there is a different definition of cannibalism, no? Where if you are eating the flesh of someone who thinks higher thoughts rather than being of your own kind, you know, there is something perverse about eating the flesh of your own.
A wizard who could awaken cats and mice, like they would have thoughts. So if you awaken a mouse and it goes and eats another mouse, is that cannibalism because it has higher thoughts now?
Well, you must ask yourself, do you eat something of your same kind that is not of the higher thoughts? Or do you think that something having their own wishes and a fear of death is wrong to eat?
These are things to meditate on. I will think on this and get back to you, Eric.
No worries. I will say, though, I bet Ken really regrets agreeing to come on as a guest now, doesn't he? Look at him just sitting there, poor bastard.
I certainly regret saying, what do you guys talk about for the next 3 days?
Yep, that'll learn you.
You see, this question comes up a lot when you are a bird person like me.
Other than that, that's pretty much about it.
Berlinia, is there anything you wanted to talk about that isn't about whether or not it's morally okay to eat your party members?
I think that Berlinia would just kind of let them do what they do best in that scenario. One thing about Berlinia is she finds lately, the last few nights, she has not been able to sleep. It has not been for nervousness, though she is growing increasingly nervous, because I think she can feel that they are coming close to something big, something important. She just has not felt tired. Her energy has not subsided. She had not felt the sleepiness. And so I think she has taken to be on watch for the whole night, not even waking someone up to take a turn. She just sits. She looks over Cole's journal again and again, reading every word. But yeah.
Give me a Constitution saving throw.
I actually don't believe that she would need to, considering that this is probably one of her warlock invocations, that she just doesn't need to sleep because she's a freaking badass. Like we all knew.
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't know. It was an invocation that I got.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you're playing.
Not a cleric, though it seems.
No, it seems like it. I always think she's a cleric.
Yeah.
I always
so did we for like 7 sessions.
So
all right. What's the invocation?
It's called Aspect of the Moon, which basically means that you no longer need to sleep and can't be forced to sleep by any means.
Is that
But you still gain the benefit of a long rest if you just kind of sit for 8 hours doing light activities and keeping watch. Oh yeah, it's in Xanath. No, it's in
Xanathar's.
Yeah.
Xanathars.
So I'm pretty sure it's also in the player's handbook.
Also, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nope, it was a Fey only thing in Unearthed Arcana, and then they put it in Xanathars and took away the Feyness of it.
Excellent.
I believe it's in the player's handbook.
Excellent. No, that's fine, because I thought you were just being like hardcore RP, and I was gonna roll to see how much exhaustion you have, but you don't get any exhaustion because that's a badass warlock feat. So
yeah, so she is just all of a sudden, she doesn't know why, she doesn't know what this means or why she has not been able to sleep.
I do want you then to make a wisdom saving throw. Actually, not a saving throw, sorry. Let's make it an insight check.
Okay, that's better. That's a 23.
Okay. So with that, it stands that you're what you said. You don't know where this is coming from. And you just use this wakeful time, like you said, you're just studying the journal from Cole, which would actually give you a lot more insight into, at least from Cole's perspective. This would be the first time you've had to really study the journal to this degree and learn what Cole knows, and like I said, from Cole's perspective, of the sort of battle that was taking place between these this demon and this angelic form, where they were essentially battling for souls, and the product of that is how you and Cole came to be born as twin sisters, one a tiefling and one an ASMR. And you don't necessarily understand it anymore, but you're at least seeing the words, filling in between the lines of that night that seems so long ago, when Berlinia and Cole stood outside of the merchant prince's bungalow and or villa, and the rain was pouring, and Cole revealed your relationship to you. You can kind of see that between the lines. So, what about Eric? Is there, other than maybe worrying a little bit about whether or not Vale and Dunala are joking about them wanting to possibly eat you? Is there anything you would have gone out of your way to tell them? Would you have told them a little bit about Kirsabal, about the teacher of Kirsabal, about yourself?
I think he'd be oddly kind of quiet about what it's like, this place. Only bringing up very abstract or vague or just like unhelpful comments, if at all pressed, about what this place is like. Coming from the mouth of someone who's like, of course, everyone knows what it's like, because that's what his perspective is that, he's been there his whole life. And so just very unhelpful or vague or nimulous.
Excellent. Perfect. So on this third day, it's about just getting into the early afternoon. It's probably about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you emerge from the trees, and you've caught glimpses of this high plateau, but the tree canopy has kept it hidden. And Eric, as you've been kind of moving along with the party, you've maybe flitted from branch to branch as you had done previously, but for the most part, you have to stay fairly low to the ground. There's no real room in here to fully spread your wings, until you emerge into a clearing, a good 50 to 100 yards away from the base of this plateau. And you can see, looking up, all of you, this plateau, the sheer cliff face. Think maybe something along the lines of Devil's Tower in Wyoming, but jutting up from the jungle, and having a little more of a jagged gray rock to it instead of these vertical striations. And from where you're at, you can see high above the monastery of Kirsabal. It's overlooking the jungle from its perches on this cliff. And you can see these stone steps and very rickety wooden walkways that are moving even from low down, that lead their way up. But even the lowest of these buildings is 500 feet above you. There are, they almost seem to blend in with the stone, but they stick out a little bit, forming these sort of where they rise up over a couple hundred feet with the switchbacking wooden plankways and stone steps. And you can see activity from even down here, as every few minutes you'll see some Aarakocra fly in to one of the monastery areas, and then you'll see basically like a wing of them, like 4 or 5 of them in formation, take off, and they look to be heading off in various patrols. Eric, do you tell them anything at this point?
I imagine this like almost like movie-like scene of Eric leading the way. He's brushing aside this thick, jungly underbrush, and we just see almost like Jurassic Park style, just like this giant spire of stone and like these more maybe flying bird animals just all flocking around it. And we have this nice music going on, and he kind of presents it. Voilà, mes amis, Kirsabal. And it's a big grand moment as we the camera pans upwards and we see this giant, monolith of awesomeness.
If it were, well, I mean, there's dinosaurs here, so I think the Jurassic Park theme would be appropriate as you reveal Kirsabal high above. What, Dunala, you've heard of and you know of Kirsabal, but Vale and Berlinia, this is something new to you. What are your thoughts upon this vision that you see now and knowing that you need to go up there?
I'll look at Berlinia and say, I mean, I've seen bigger mountains, but Eric seems pretty proud of it, so I guess we should maybe just go for it. Yeah. Ooh, Eric, it's quite big. Question though, how do us folk with no wings get up? Is there like a staircase on the other side or something? Or
You can actually see the stairs and the.
Oh, can you? Okay. Wasn't sure if it'd be like hidden or something, so that as a defended position.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Connor.
I was gonna say, like, I question the ability of those stairs to support your weight. Not calling you the largest of the folk. No, it is more like those stairs have not been used for many years.
Are they not carved out of stone?
Some of them are carved from stone, but it's like there's carved stone supports, and there are some areas that where rickety walkways connect between them, forming this sort of zigzag heading up the mountain.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And luckily, Brill here can fly anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Mademoiselle, you have the wings of a bird? I didn't see them. Where do you hold such marvelous wonders?
Well, not all the time.
No, you can. Where do your wings go? May I ask, woman?
I'm not sure. They just kind of appear when I need them.
Do they go where they please, like true wings would, flying on the winds? Careless.
Before I allow you to continue flirting with Miss Berlinia, I must ask you, Eric. I am a 1T. How will your Aarakocra fans here react to a 1T, or should I maintain the illusion of humanity?
I would like to invoke one DM's note, please. What do Aarakocra think of me, Yanti here?
Phone a friend.
I think you would know.
Phone a friend.
Eric, you would know that while the Aarakocra would not show outright hostility toward a Yuan-Ti, they know of some of the goings on of the Yuan-Ti, and the true Yuan-Ti are have shown themselves to not be very trustworthy as a whole here in Chult. But you would also know, actually, for the second part, I want you to make me an insight check, because you're a bit of a reckless younger bird.
I am quite something, if not reckless. That is a 20 on that insight, though.
So you do know that while there may be a bit of, not open hostility, but a bit of distrust, you also know that it could potentially be just as bad, if not worse, if Dunala were to disguise himself and then it were revealed later that he were Yuan-Ti.
As Aarakocra, we are a people of, what you might say, peace and not war, So if I would suggest, sir, may I, if you do not don some kind of outer layer that you must hide behind, no, but present your true self. And it is in this way that you can understand that we will accept you if you not bear your fangs,
I see. And when Dunala says that, he rubs his hands down his face, and it's like he's actually pulling off his face, because what's underneath is very sharp, very serpentine. The whites of his eyes jade again. And then he wipes away, like, the skin on his arms disintegrates into dust, revealing the scales underneath. And he doesn't say anything. He just sits there, more rigid than he normally is, since Dunala is usually pretty lax, and altogether just a bit more alien, even though Dunala is a sorcerer. To Berlinia, especially, has always been pretty alien. So,
in Berlinian Vale, you've seen Dunala's, at least a couple times, Dunala's revealed himself. One other thing that you would know, Eric, is that while the walkways of Kir Sabal are indeed potentially treacherous, and not without a certain amount of risk, that the Aarakocra of Kir Sabal would look more favorably upon somebody who risks the journey up the plateau face, as opposed to somebody that comes in by other easier means. For one, they present themselves in a sort of vulnerable position that allows them to have eyes on them as they approach, and it just puts them in a more favorable light for the monastery as a whole if they make that journey.
It would put all four of you, all three of you, in a good light if you to show that you are trustworthy. You climb up the face and braving the neglected or treacherous walkways we may or may not use very often.
Sounds like Kia Sabal just needs a better infrastructure program, but that's not for me to say, I suppose. Right, well, we all going to start walking up.
Do you three? No? I will not come with you in that way. That would be a shame for my own plumage.
Will you fly with us or no?
I will fly with you, but I will not carry you up the cliff. No.
At this moment, two Aarakocra in deep blue plumage, they fly in, one of whom does an almost over-exaggerated, they fly in low and he kind of goes and drops in that 3-point hero stance. His wings fold behind him as he stands. The other one above, and then more softly lights down. And these two are members of the guard, that more specifically of the teacher's personal guard. And they also happen to be brother and sister. And they are, Eric, them to be called Cherek and Tilish.
My brother, my sisters, Cherek, Tilish. Oh, it has been many, many moons since I've seen you. I know. And he takes a step forwards and does the wide stance and is all flamboyant and plumageful.
Cherek, who is the male of the two, and who also gave the more exaggerated 3-point landing, sort of flares his wings with a little bit of a to kind of push you back from getting too close. Eric, you look worse for the wear. What sort of trouble have you gotten into in your absence for so many weeks?
I thought I was looking one of my best, no? What is wrong? Do I have a stray feather somewhere, no? What are you referring to? Huh?
It would be easier to point out which feathers are in alignment.
Oh! He exclaims and squawks at that. And just completely taken aback by this very much of a big insult to his glorious plumage.
Tilish pushes past him.
Actively, it kind of starts readjusting plumage.
Tilish pushes past Cherek, using one of her wings, almost like you would push with a hand, as she steps past him. The two are almost indistinguishable to anybody not Aarakocran, though Tilish is of a slightly more slender build. She steps forward, and she's a bit more, she's always been a bit friendlier to you. Eric, it is good to see that you are safe, and pay no attention to Cherek's. We have been sent by teacher. You are to come with us immediately. she would like to see you.
I have news to bring as well with you, Dilesh. I come with you, and I come to Kirsabala with a company of 3 guests who did the honor of rescuing me, Eric.
Uh-oh. What just happened? Somebody dropped out.
Megan has
temporarily
swapped the
disappeared
places
and
with
came back.
everybody.
All right, real quick. Megan, Connor, and Ken, turn off your cameras. Megan, turn yours on. And Connor. Then Ken.
I thought Ken was frozen too because he's had the same smile this whole time, but then I just realized he was really happy to be here.
I am a very happy person, Marquis.
He is. He is. He always sits there with a big smile on his face, as one should when playing D&D.
Exactly.
I come bearing the honor of the grateful company of the 3 who rescued me from the unfortunately smelly grasp of the Terrafolk.
I am glad to see that they did not get the best of you. Though I wish you would not go out for so long by yourself. Nonetheless,
You must understand when you are locked in a cage, you cannot control when you come home.
well, let us hope that the teacher is as understanding. I assume.
I always have a way with her.
I assume, she says, taking on a bit more formality as she turns to all of you. If you are to accompany Eric, you will... And she sort of looks, kind of glancing at all of you, almost as if looking behind you to see if you have wings. I assume you will make the climb. This will give us time to bring Eric to his... to the teacher.
There hasn't been anyone else here, has there? Perhaps a balloon or a turtle with a man and 3, and she kind of pauses. Women?
She kind of does that bird thing where she just kind of turning her head suddenly side to side as you're talking, and then she turns to Eric. And in a sort of, well, actually, I should double check. Eric, what languages do you speak? I believe you have your own Eric Cochran.
I have Common, Eric Cochran, Orin, which I believe is some kind of elemental language, and I have Thieves' Cant, and I have a +1. I believe when I made my character, I forgot to fill in the last language.
Okay.
So,
well, just in simple Eric Cochran, she just kind of gives you this sort of it's a quick series of chirps and almost like a bit of a song that, unless any of you speak Eric Cochran, none of you understand. But what she says to you is, basically, she says to you, are they okay mentally? Or do they all stammer on about random turtles and balloons?
And he would reply, saying, "From what I have gathered about the company I am, the turtle they have is a very important companion they had, and he was separated from them, and their hearts long for him."
Do you say this in Eric Cochran?
Yes, but accent is completely coming through.
Okay. Then she immediately turns, and this all takes place very quickly. The birds, people speak very rapidly in Eric Cochran. And after a quick exchange of birdsong, she looks back at you, Berlinia, and she says, there have been no balloons arriving here at Kirsabal, nor any of the turtles, though that would be quite a ways indeed for a turtle to come all the way from the snout of Omu, let alone a turtle flying in a balloon.
I agree, it is quite the sight, but we are expecting them. They should be here at some point, I hope.
Chirek steps in. Eric, Tilesh, we must go. Teacher will not wait forever. You know she wants to see you now.
I know. My pretties, I must go, as Eric turns to the three of you. Remember, make peace, not war.
Tilesh says...
And watch your step.
Tilesh says, because you have rescued Eric, I will send a wing down to watch over you, but you must make the climb. Then the teacher will speak with you. Come, Eric. And with a quick bit of bird song, she says, we must go now. They flare their wings out on either side of you. And with a push, they fly straight upward.
And Eric joins them with his own, like, fancy schmancy aerialatics or aerobatics. Is that the word for it? When you can
sure
fly?
Yeah.
His own, nice display of just wingtastic aerobatics.
I see almost as they kind of flare straight up, wings quickly, just in measured burst, flying upward. Eric kind of does the same thing, but he's like spiraling upwards with a flare. Leaving the three of you to begin your climb.
Right, before we go, let's just go. Let's just go right. We'll go right back to Port Nyanzaru. We got the pretentious little budgie back to his little home. So let's go. We run. We don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about. Actually, no. Let's climb the stairs. We're just really gonna piss off a dungeon master if we just bugger off. So yeah,
there it is. It's not a game if Mike doesn't break the fourth wall.
I just got to lean on it a bit, give it a bit of a push.
All right, so the climb is very narrow walkways through stretches of stone that is jutting out. Occasionally railings are missing. It's going to take you a quick assessment. It's going to take you at least an hour to climb up this thing. And of course, it's going to require some ability checks along the way. So first, as you are making your way up the side of this thing, one of the things you need to keep an eye out for is gaps in the walkway. And some of these gaps require to almost take a leap of faith to cross over. And so I'm going to need from each of you an athletics check. As Connor visually antagonizes you. So go ahead and make an athletics check, and Vale.
I believe in you guys.
Well,
You
actually,
guys don't-
who would take the lead? Who would be leading the way up these?
I'll lead.
All right.
I'll lead. I'm not afraid. And I just rolled myself a dirty 20, which is totally not my rapper name.
So you find it, well, the higher you get, it's a bit daunting leaping some of these gaps. You are able to do this with relative ease. How about Dunala?
Dunala does not have the same physical dexterity or prowess as Vale, but luck has smiled on him today because I rolled a 17 and I have a +0, so that's just a 17.
There's a couple points, Dunala, where you follow in Vale's footsteps and you're not quite as graceful. You almost like you make a leap slightly upward and your weight doesn't quite shift enough, and you kind of do this reel thing and have to grab the wall or a railing. At one point, you grab a railing, and a piece of the railing breaks off in your hand from the rotted wood, but you manage to maintain your footing. Now, how about Berlinia?
Berlinia is already nervous and doesn't trust herself. And I think the nerves get the better of her because she got a 5.
So you have a choice here.
Inspiration, domain die, something.
Yeah. Okay. I will use domain die.
All right.
Good choice.
With a peal of thunder, fate is possibly altered as you re-roll that roll. And how'd you do?
Better. It's a 10.
Oh.
Okay, Berlinia, you have a choice.
Oh no.
You can either take the falling damage, or you can take the exhaustion level from trying to stop yourself from falling.
I think she will take the exhaustion.
So you go ahead and tell us what it looks like as you go. You're doing fine initially. It's precarious. You're glad probably that you're last and they can't quite see you making these nervous leaps. And right around the time Dunala slips and kind of the part of the railing breaks off in his hand, it makes you falter a bit in your confidence. What does it look like as you almost fall at this point about 100 feet and you manage to save yourself and use all your energy to pull yourself up? What does that look like for Berlinia?
Berlinia sees when Dunala the railing breaks and her heart is just beating a mile a minute. She's trying not to look over the edge. She is trying to hug. How is this? Is it set up that it wraps around the mountain so there's one side that's kind of a thing, or is it both?
It's
drops?
all of it's happening on one face of the plateau. So you get to a certain point and then it kind of switches back and starts going up. So you're moving at an upward angle and then eventually you shift and move up this way.
Okay, so she is walking and there is a spot where the wood is soft and a bit rotted, and she steps on it. And if she was a little more confident, it wouldn't have been an issue, but it's the thing when you do something and you try and overcorrect yourself. She gets that sense that she's going to fall, so she tries to overcorrect, but then she trips. And for that instant, she is in midair about to fall. She lets out this yelp, but then she quickly grabs at the edges of this walkway. And so now her upper torso is on the walkway, but her legs are dangling down over it, and she is holding on for dear life, muscles tensed, and she slowly pulls herself back up onto the walkway. And I think she would just kind of lay there for a moment, breath rapid, eyes closed.
Vale and Dunala, give me perception checks.
That is going to be terrible. That's a 13 for me.
Vale?
That is only an 11 for me.
11.
Dunala, you notice this, and she's a little ways behind you. When you see her slip down in, and then for a moment you're not sure if she's going to make it. And then you see her kind of pull herself up.
Dunala in his full Wanty state has exactly 0 emotional response to Berlinia's near death. However, he walks back to her, and when she looks up, she's going to see just his frozen serpentine face looking down at her with no expression. And then he very calmly says to her, "There is no rush." Slow down and be cautious, Vilenia.
Linya just nods her head very vigorously. She doesn't look at Dunala as she scrabbles to her feet.
So you now have 1 level of exhaustion, which means the next ability checks will be at disadvantage. All of your ability checks will be at disadvantage until you get rid of that level of exhaustion.
Question. I assume, even though I didn't notice it, would I have assumed that it is now would I have known that it had happened? You guys would have said something.
Unless one of them says something to you, you're continuing on up.
As Dunala would catch back up with Vale, knowing the connection they would have, he would turn towards you, his head almost turning like 180 as he walks past you, and he would say to you, Vale, Belenia nearly fell and died. I advise you to be cautious with her and to ensure she does not do so again, Vale.
What? Wait, what? I'll look behind and I'll go rushing back. Bro, you all right?
Hold on a second. You said you're rushing back?
Oh no.
Well, not running, but
he's galloping back.
Not exactly a saunter, but not exactly a full-on.
He's making great efforts to make really loud, like really strong, kicks towards the rotted wood.
Stomping the stairs.
Stomping on the wood, and
it's like when you teach a horse to count. Basically,
he's grabbing Rocky out.
What he actually, he grabbed the vine. He grabbed the vine, Connor, and he swung back like Tarzan to Belenia on the vine.
Right.
Yeah, but he's like actively sawing at this vine as he's swinging to make sure it's less able to sort its weight.
You are able to cautiously make your way. You actually did pretty well on your athletics check, so you've been through this area. You make it back to Berlinia, who's just pulling herself into position to be ready to continue.
You all right?
Oh yeah, I just tripped. I'm all right. I'm fine.
I'll grab her hand and just hold her up close to me. Look.
You can feel her. She's like shaking. She is just very nervous, very tense.
If I cast a spell, I'm not sure what spell it would be, but if I cast
sound like lyrics to a spell, to a song. If I cast a spell, I don't know what it will be.
Yeah, no. If I cast lesser restoration, would that count towards getting rid of exhaustion? Even though, everyone's nodding their head yes, and the guest who
does restoration cure exhaustion?
Technically, no.
Beyond open on spells.
Negative. Exhaustion is fucked up.
Yeah, exhaustion. I think you pretty much have to deal with it.
Yeah,
because it's
greater restoration.
Has to be greater.
Greater restoration.
Yeah.
Well, dag nabbit. All right. Well then, I'm just awkwardly holding her hand now. That's not really, I guess, a thing anymore. But yeah. Well, I just be like, just be careful, right? I mean, I don't know how well those wings of yours work, so I don't want to see nothing bad happen to you. And I'll turn around kind of sheepishly and continue heading up.
As you all begin, or rather continue to this next section, there are places where you don't have to leap across the gap, but the walkway suddenly gets very narrow, and you have to kind of sidestep along these gaps. And I need an acrobatics check as you're maneuvering through here. From the three of you.
Oh, acrobatics is my jam. I know this because I
I'm
just
gonna-
got a 22.
I'm gonna burn my last point of inspiration. Bet that's a lot better. Okay, that's gonna be a 19. 19.
Berlinia at
also got a-
disadvantage.
I also got a 22, even at disadvantage.
So perhaps from the learning from falling, you managed to successfully navigate another couple 100 feet. The wind is picking up through here, and it is maybe causing you to tear up a little bit from, the wind blowing. There's a few vines that are hanging along the way, just thin, more like ivy, that are kind of whipping in the wind. And some of the planks up this high appear to be a little more rotted in places. And so I need from each of you a perception check as you cross these last couple 100 feet. Mike does not look too happy about that skill check. And Berlinia still, of course, you will be at a disadvantage on ability checks, Berlinia, for quite a while.
Until a long rest, yeah.
Yeah, until
Can
you have
I
your long
burn
rest.
a domain dice?
That's what they're there for.
Bet, yeah, I'm burning this. Megan was like, no, don't do it, you fool. I must.
Megan's like, I think I might need that.
All right, that's going to be a 12.
All right, and Berlinia.
I got a 13.
What'd you end up getting, Vale?
I think I need to burn. I'm going to burn a point of inspiration because
Okay.
I've got a few of those saved up because I originally rolled a 7, and that means I've got an 8 because I got a stupid +1. Stupid. Oh,
You dropped the nat 20 on there?
Yes, indeed.
All right. So Vale, you almost step right onto a plank that just as your foot's about to touch it, you can see sky, like space light between the pieces of this wood. It's so dry rotted. And you're like, just no. And you step onto another spot. Unfortunately, neither Dunala or Berlinia are as lucky, as they both simultaneously step on rotten plank sections. And you now both have a choice to make. Do you want to fall and take damage? Now, you're not falling the entire distance, but you will take some damage. Or do you want to take points of exhaustion, which would put you at 2, Berlinia, and you at 1, Dunala.
Would you allow Berlinia to unleash her wingedness?
Because, well, that's an action and not a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only reason I'm going to say no.
I'm taking the damage because we have two. Dunala has seen the healing potential and power of Vale and Berlinia. So even if you were to like lose an arm or something, it's coming right back on. It's not a big deal.
I don't think that Berlinia would be able to save herself this time. I think she falls.
All right. You're in different sections, so I'm going to roll separately for each of you. Berlinia, you take 9 points of bludgeoning damage as you break through and fall 30 feet down to a previous section that you traversed, which also means you're going to have to traverse this section again. Dunala, you take 13 points of bludgeoning damage as you fall 30 feet down and also land on a previous section.
When Dunala lands and he hits the ground, he doesn't make any vocal reaction whatsoever. When he stands back up, his blood is black, and he just continues walking back to where he was as if nothing ever happened.
How does Berlinia react to the fall, a 30-foot fall onto hard planks? You're fortunate, both of you, that you landed on a part of the section that is stone between the wooden sections.
Berlinia is winded for a moment. She gets up. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. this. I hate this. And she would just say that. Is she in front of or behind Dunala?
I kind of imagine that you were still kind of at the back of the line. Although Dunala, well, especially Dunala moved forward earlier, so. And Vale, because of the planks breaking, you would absolutely notice both of them sort of simultaneously fall through and drop down below.
I assume there's no chance at all I could reach out as a reaction and grab one.
It would depend on how close you were traveling to them. Would you have stayed within 5 feet of one or the other of them?
I mean, it's a possibility. It is a possibility, but I'll tell you what.
I will allow it.
Well, I was gonna say, how about you roll me a d6 and I'll tell you odd, and I'll say it's odd. But so if you roll an even number, then no. But if you roll an odd number, then yes.
All right, we got my d6 here.
Let the fates decide.
That is a 2.
Then nope, I was probably 6.5 feet away, just out of range, because screw fate.
So which one do you see that you're reaching for that suddenly drops through?
Probably Dunala, because I went back for Berlinia, which means Dunala probably moved ahead in the area, and
okay,
Brill was right behind me.
And then Berlinia, so you were kind of at the back of the order, so.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Berlinia, upon seeing Dunala, would reach out her hand briefly, and Dunala, you would feel this warmth come over your body, and you would feel a bit better. I'd heal you 4 points.
Dunala looks back at you. Again, no facial expression, but still he says to you, a very calm and controlled, "Thank you, Berlinia." And then he continues walking.
So I need Dunala and Berlinia to continue up, and I'm going to say, because you've fallen and you know what to look out for, Dunala, you can make this check at advantage, and Berlinia, you'll make a straight roll rather than at disadvantage.
What roll?
This is another perception check.
Dunala's going back down with his fantastic 11. He's stuck in the infinite loop of walking up and falling.
Well, or you can save yourself and take a point of exhaustion.
With 77 cure wounds and lay on hands and warlock powers going on, he's just gonna just keep on falling. He can do this all day.
How did Berlinia fare?
I got a nat 1.
Oh, this is not good. All right, okay. Dunala, you take another 9 points of bludgeoning damage. Berlinia. Unless you take the point of exhaustion, you're going to... And I think that nat 1 is kind of screwing you over. You're going to fall, and you're going to take 13 points of bludgeoning damage. And now this is an MTD special. I'm going to grab my Tomb of Annihilation dice here.
Your hands explode.
My percentile dice. As I have now rolled a number on the percentile dice. That is our baseline. Berlinia, I need you to roll a percentile die.
What is happening right now?
There is a 30% chance that you break through another section and fall another 30 feet.
I don't know what package of M&Ms you opened to run this game, Jake, but it's really just going crazy.
So it's like that. It's like that patch where you go down the snake.
I saw Connor's note in the side chat that I must just have tilt the camera down, and I've got chutes and ladders in front of me and some M&Ms, and so I have a number.
Ball doesn't mess around.
So I have a number. The way I do percentile checks is I roll the baseline, and whatever that 30% is, if you get within 15% on either side of that number, then the thing happens, which in this case is you falling another 30 feet. So
got a 65.
I rolled a 16. So I think that's the first time in a while on my percentile checks that somebody's fallen outside of the effect. So Berlinia, you fall hard onto more stone. This is also becoming a theme with Megan falling onto her back. Her character's falling great distances on their back. Because guess what, Megan? You also just fell 60 feet total from these two falls. Berlinia, you've fallen hard again. How are you feeling?
Frustrated. Berlinia.
That's not what I thought you were going to lead with.
Frustrated and nervous, and she is just becoming more and more unsure of herself and more, and you can see she just begins to glow as she's just looking down and she's looking around, and her wings are going to spread out and she is just going to fly up.
How long does this effect last?
It lasts for a minute, I believe.
That question would have more impact if you could see that as I asked that. I'm sitting there with my fingers steepled. How long does your wings last?
He pulls out a second game of Chutes and Ladders. Berlinia.
And
nice.
What is your fly speed?
30 feet.
30 feet every 6 seconds. Or if you double dash, you can push that to 60 feet every 6 seconds. Yeah, you got enough time.
Okay.
Barely. So, as Dunala and Vale's getting close to the top. And you would see this as Berlinia falls again hard. That look from below of anger and frustration as she just suddenly starts to glow. Those celestial wings emerge from her back, and she just flies up angrily past you towards the top, which you are near, Vale. Dunala, you still need to make it past this last section. So you'll be rolling at advantage.
All right, there we go. That's going to be an 18.
So you finally can, now that you've fallen through a couple of them, you've sufficiently tested the hypothesis of what makes a rotten board and learned the results without fail. Berlinia, as you get to the top, you make it to the top and to an area where you can land safely, where there's now a section of some of these sort of structures that have been built into the side. And now all of the planking is very well maintained. All of the supports are stronger. And you were able to touch down just as your ability kind of reaches its limit. And there's maybe a little bit of a stutter step as you kind of land in without your wings, without your flight. Looking a little worse for wear. And Vale, you kind of come up right behind her. It's another few minutes before Dunala makes it.
Dunala will look at Vale, clearly bleeding from just a bunch of like small cuts, this black eye, and he would say to you, Vale, I require Ubtal's blessing.
Yeah, I can tell. Hang on a minute. And I'll heal heal you for what? 20? You good for 20?
Yeah, 20 works.
All right. I'll heal him for 20.
Make it 19 and you're good.
All right, 19 works.
Thank you. And he would say to you, like he's been saying to Brilinja, calm face, thank you, Vale. And then he would keep walking.
I really wish you'd put your face on. It's creepy. Just saying.
Oh, no response.
Meanwhile, as Brilinja, Vale, and Dunala are beginning their climb, and from afar, some Aarakocra have been sort of swooping back and forth, but not intervening. They do swoop a little bit close as Brilinja and Dunala fall, but not so close that it looked like they were actually going to assist you. But while all of this is happening, Chirik and Tilesh bring escort Eric up to the monastery proper, the main building, which has these circular maze-like symbols carved into the weather-worn facade. Eric, you are led in through the landing deck, which is a plank deck in front of some stone archways that allows you to kind of land and perch before moving into the monastery proper. And on this lower level, you are, at this point, you are about 600 feet above the floor of the jungle. And there is this large space of, well, relatively large space of about 30 foot by 30 foot with these maze-like symbols kind of carved into the floor of this chamber, and stairs that lead up, and there's an open area above. It leads up to a balcony. And in this area is where, seated in a sort of nest of cushions, is an elderly-looking Aarakocra woman by the name of Ashara, whom all of the Aarakocra of Kir Sabal know as teacher. Chirik and Tilesh lead you in. They bow, and then they step to the sides, staying just inside the room. Eric, you know that decorum and respect demands that you do not speak until spoken to. However, you're Eric. Do you remain silent, or do you speak first?
He definitely speaks up. Hello, Mother. I am back from my adventures.
So the woman in the nest of pillows, the way that she looks is that she has very faded blue sort of feathers on her head, and then yellow on her cheeks. These faded yellow feathers go all the way down her body, sort of shoulders, hips, all the way down, basically her form down to her sort of feet, you would assume. Though, as you know, Aarakocra have like chicken feet, right? Like they have like sort of almost like scaled feet and claws. You also know that they have hands and arms, obviously, and a head and a neck and everything. You guys can also see that she is wearing sort of the sort of her sort of like these wide ancient sort of robes, these mystics robes. They're highly decorated. She has this sort of toque on that's going up from the top of her head. She almost looks like a Nepalese yogi or something like that. You can see that the sleeves of her robes are very long and wide. You can't really see her winged, or rather her hands. You can see the wings that obviously come out from her robe. And those wings that you can see are ancient as well, exposed, slight, gnarled. They're missing feathers in places. Everything is grayed on her. These ancient robes that she's wearing are made of woven fibers, it looks like, and they are marked with these symbols of Orin, which are of protection, veneration, and ignition as well. And as our good friend Eric comes into the monastery, the teacher arises and reaches out to her left, grasping a broom, and begins to sweep silently.
You have no words for the return of your son?
All I see before me is a petitioner who did not take the steps of supplication. A Tahoo! I see before me, Tahoo, someone not deserving of an audience. Tahoo.
You make me go through those damn steps again? This is the 14th time this year.
You know our ways, our rituals, our traditions, Tahoo. We're speaking Arakocra.
I can't get over the tattoos. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, own it, baby. Love it. Live it. Live it.
Embrace it.
You leave your companions, Tahoo. Those who have saved your life, I have heard. Tahoo.
I would not disgrace them with my
You disgraced them by not taking the stairs of supplication. Ahoo.
I was born with great wings. I would not climb stairs as mere ground people would, you know?
Yes, I know.
It is not our way, you know. You and me, it's
I
not
do
our
not
way.
know you. Who are you? A Tahoo.
I
Hoo-hoo.
I am your son, you know?
Hmm.
Or is your age
know
catching
not.
upon you, mother?
This face that I see, perhaps take me to your adventurer friends.
No, they are walking up the stairs of supplication, you know?
Well, at least follow some of our traditions and take me to them.
Very well, you shall walk down these stairs of supplication to meet them. I do not know how far up they have gone. Perhaps they are still at the bottom wondering which way is up.
They have come some distance, Tahoo, and the winged one amongst you. Tahoo.
And he is taken aback by how many rules and silly games that we have to play in this monastery. And with that, he kind of, with a huff and a puff, just leaves, turns his back on the teacher. You can follow me if you wish, mother. I will take you to them. But I feel it'll be better on your bones if you were to stay here. And put that broom down. You're too old for that broom.
Ashara does have definitely cataracts in her sort of like eyes, if you will. She does have a bird's head, almost like sort of a sort of parakeet, if you will, or sort of a tropical bird. Her robes go down long enough so that her claws and her feet are covered. And she does put aside the broom as she sort of shuffles after apparently her son as she follows him.
And the amount of time it will take to shuffle down some stairs to another level where the other characters, I imagine there were some periods in there, Eric, where you were made to wait. The sweeping took some time so that by the time you shuffle down with Ashara, the teacher, your mother, you see some of the Arakocra who make up this monastery. The more traditional Aarakocran monks have come out of set aside their duties to sort of follow Vale, Dunala, and Berlinia. So by this point, the three of them are traveling towards you, followed by about a dozen or more Aarakocran monks. Vale, Berlinia, Dunala, you see Eric walking and leading a very old-looking Aarakocran woman. And as Eric, and more so as the teacher approaches, all of the monks around you bow in reverence. And you hear mutterings of, teacher, 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 teacher. A couple of them sort of tug at you, Vale, Dunala, and Berlinia, as they don't like bow down on the ground, but they sort of put their hands together and they bow forward, and then you feel tugs at you, teacher, 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 and they're sort of trying to get you to do as they're doing. Would you do this, Vale?
No.
That's why I wasn't coming to you yet, Dunala.
Yeah, I wouldn't like completely supplicate myself, because I am not a monk, but I most certainly will like bow in reverence.
What about Berlinia?
For Berlinia, it would be almost automatic, very smooth, and she would keep her eyes down.
If the other two do it, which they are, Dunala will also do it, just because the other two.
Berlinia, make me a insight.
That is a 13.
Yeah, you don't even question as you kind of just naturally go into this bow, as you maybe don't even realize you're doing it right away, but this sort of seems natural to you as you're seeing, and again, this is almost instinctual, but you are seeing reflections of the way things were with the Weeping Friars and Brother Matthias, I believe was his name. But it's less, you don't sense that. Brother Matthias always had a benevolence that was masking a malevolence. And you're not necessarily picking anything up at this time, but
I think that Berlinia would almost reach for the ribbons that were once there, as she would normally do when they were in ceremony, and she would tug at them absently, but they're not there, and she feels that, and she just breathes but continues to bow and to show respect.
Ashara, make me an insight check. I'm actually going to have you roll 3 insight checks.
17, 24, 14.
As you look over with your cloudy vision, but also using your senses, you look over these 3 newcomers, and you can definitely sense you get a sense of something on a spiritual level coming from the half-elf that stands there, and that would be Vale, but you don't know that yet. Just the half-elf that stands there. You see, with that second insight check, as you look at the Asimar being that seems to, through your senses, almost glow with her natural radiance. There's clearly a celestial connection, but not necessarily to a god, but to some sort of, you can almost see these silver threads that seem to just fade off into the distance imperceptibly from Berlinia, as if there were hundreds or, to your eyes, thousands of hair thin wisps that trail off into an unknown distance, connecting her to some sort of entity. But they don't go up into the heavens where the gods tread. Though you sense that it's definitely a radiant energy, but you can sense the cloudiness. You see her reaction, that it's instinct, but you can also see that the way in which she immediately took on the honorary bow in your presence was not to show honor, but in the same way that a dog cowers instinctively when a hand is raised if it's been beaten. The tall, dark-skinned man that you can sort of detect that it's not skin so much as scales that you see, you immediately recognize as Yuan-Ti, and you just can't get a read on him one way or the other.
Sweet. The teacher gets down on her old rickety knees and then prostrates herself in front of the group, basically almost like doing the worm, like straight up on the ground, like sort of bent up, basically. And from that sort of position from the ground, she says, Tahoo, welcome to Kir Sabal, supplicants. What have you come seeking?
Wait, we're not. Are we? Wait, I'm sorry. We're not trying to join you. Your Grace. Your Grace. What do you even call it? I'll just look to Brill. Your Grace?
Teacher.
Right. Teacher.
We wanted to thank you so much for accepting us to this place. It is truly, truly marvelous.
Yes, it once was much more majestic before the fall of Omu.
Jake, did we know the princess was here? Was that mentioned? Because I remember someone mentioned the name about someone being here, and it's a very long, complicated name.
At one point, though you haven't heard, and you would have heard it several days ago at this point, when Artis Simber and Dragonbait picked you guys up in Camp Vengeance, he mentioned that was his original plan, was to journey to Kir Sabal, where he had a friend, Princess Moixanare, that he wanted to introduce you to, since you were going to be accompanying him. And he mentioned that she was at Kir Sabal.
Dunala says to this, are you still prostrated, Ashara?
Yes.
He says to you, Ashara, Veil Istafal, the half-elf here, has been chosen by Ubtao. You have here in Kir Sabal a princess, and I know no Aarakocra will claim that title.
Veil Tahoo, Ubatao, an old god.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. I'm not going to lie to you, your teacherness. We've traveled for quite some time. When I'm just being pulled in this one direction. Yeah, like going to this secret city of Omu.
You seek Omu.
Right, yeah, Tahoo. Well,
Tahoo.
exactly. I think
And who do you bring with you?
Well, this is my friend, Brilinia, and this is my other friend, Dunala, and
Ralinya who? Dunala Tahoo. You are welcome, Tahoo. And the teacher arises, continuing to sort of gaze at you.
Thank you, teacher.
Yeah. Anyway, we were heading off right towards Omu, and well, you know, some things happen. Chult's a funny place, isn't it? You know, someone should really write a book about this place or something. But anyway, we had a bit of trouble.
Dangerous is the jungle. We do not go there, Ahoo. Not like your people, good Danala Tahoo. You seek the princess, you say. She is here. Perhaps she would wish to meet you. She has not seen others besides us for a long time. But she and her brother are both here. And we protect them until Omu rises. You must protect their secret as well, for they are in great danger. Their parents were killed by the same folk that took this traveler, and she indicates Eric at this point.
At this point, you hear a voice from behind and above you on the walkway. Ashara, why was I not told that there were visitors here at Kia Sabol?
Ah, princess, you have found us. You are so clever. We simply had to determine if these dignitaries were from one of the principalities to the north. The holdfasts have not sent couriers as you had foretold. These are simple explorers. But to who they do seek Omu?
I see 3 unique individuals.
Sorry to interrupt. What does the princess look like?
So Princess Moxanare is 17 years old, and I should have had a image queued up. I don't, but I will describe her. As she is Chultan. She holds herself in a very regal manner with poise. She wears elaborate thin linen garments dyed in a variety of muted colors. And she does wear a robe that is of Aarakocra make, in Aarakocra feathers. She wears a sort of diadem and carries a staff. With her is a young boy who looks to be who's also Chultan, who looks to be about 6 years old. It's hard to tell though, because he is covered head to toe in feathers. It looks as though he has just gathered up feathers from wherever he could, and with straps of leather has tied them to his shoulders, his arms, his back, his all around his body. And he even has a makeshift beak that is strapped with leather straps to his face, as he appears to be emulating the Aarakocra. I see amongst these who are not Eric Cochran, I see 3 who look very out of place. And I see your errant son has returned. Eric, is it that they call you? And Eric, you would know that she says this to you all the time. And it's basically a rhetorical statement. As she begins to walk towards you all, the little boy walking along, he walks kind of bobbing his head like a bird. Most of his mannerisms seem to be slightly more bird-like than Eric Cochran, but he sort of is emulating the motions. As she walks down a few steps, he leaps, flaring out his arms and his feathers like wings, and leaps down a couple stairs, stumbling a moment, and then catching himself. She kind of gives him a little look to the side as he does this. She steps up alongside you, Ashara.
I present to you the royalty of Omu, a Tahoo.
Dunala, unlike he did for Ashara, gets down on one knee and bows his head to the princess.
It is most surprising that amongst those who have the bearing of adventurers, that I would see in their midst one of the Yonti. Yet it appears as though you have made the journey of supplication to here. Explain yourself, Yonti.
My name is Dunala, princess. I have been sent here by forces beyond my control to serve you. Assuming you truly are the princess of Omu, last of your bloodline.
It is very dangerous of you to not accept me for who I am, while I now wear the title of princess. I am the true queen of Omu, and when it is found, I will rule over it and all the holdfasts and principalities to the north, all up and down the Sword Coast, will pay homage to Omu.
Forgive this one for his insolence, queen of Omu.
And what of you? She just kind of walks past, though she does lightly trail her fingers across your scaled forehead, Dunala. She walks over to you, Berlinia. How tall is Berlinia?
Berlinia is about 5'6", 5'7".
Moxanare is about the same height as you. As she walks up to you, she makes a point of walking all the way around you, Berlinia, looking you up and down. She comes back around to face you and looks into your eyes. She looks down, and without asking permission, she takes your hand and sort of holds it up, and with her other hand, traces the scars on your forearms. And she just lets go of your hand. And who are you?
You can see that Berlinia is a little taken aback. Her eyes are a bit wider. I'm Berlinia, Your Highness.
And from where do you hail, Brilinnia?
Far to the north, Temple of Ilmater.
How far to the north? In which of my holdings do you originate?
She's looking around nervously. I apologize. I don't know anything about...
You don't know where you come from? It is a simple question, girl.
Yes, but you see, I just know I went south.
Well, I'm sure it's a fascinating story, and perhaps over dinner you can tell us more about it. My little brother loves to hear stories, and I'm sure he would be fascinated by your tale. And she just walks away from you. She walks over to Vale. She stops. How tall is Vale?
Vale's around 6'1".
She stands in front of you. Close enough, deliberately close enough, that she has to look up at you, and you have to look down into her eyes. She has radiantly green eyes. And she looks up at you, and she sort of looks you over. And who? And for the first time, you see a bit of a smile. And who are you?
My name is Vale. Vale Istifal. Your Highness. What was that? Oh.
Vale Istifal. From where do you hail?
You're probably gonna laugh, but I actually come from the Dales. I know what you're thinking, Vale from the Dales, right? I mean, it's really not that funny. But I've done lots of traveling.
As you say that, she kind of goes, "You are funny, Vale from the Dales."
Yeah, well, it's probably why I tried to move about as far west as I could.
If I may, my queen, Vale has been chosen by Ubtao and has also been guided here, much as I have.
Oh, yeah.
She holds her
right.
hand up as you speak, Dunala. I have already spoken to you, Yonti. I am speaking to Vale.
He goes
from
silent.
the Dales. You were saying, Vale?
Yeah, I've just traveled around to all different places out west, Neverwinter and Baldur's Gate. He was even in Waterdeep for a little while. That was pretty much that. Waterdeep was interesting. I saw when they ousted the previous lord. What was his name? Daggelt Neverember. Yeah, they ousted him not that long ago, just before I came down here. So then I came to Chult, and it's nice, in an everything's trying to kill you sort of way, but it's nice, The weather's pretty when it's not raining.
Someday, when my kingdom is restored, I will journey to my holdings to the north, to the holdings of Waterdeep, to the holdings of Baldur's Gate, perhaps even far to the north to your Dales, Vale. We shall have dinner, as I believe it is nearly time, teacher.
Yes, at Tahoo, as tradition calls, a royal dinner for those that seek Omu, to celebrate the quest they must undertake. A Tahoo.
Vale, and she sort of places a hand just lightly on your chest. She turns and she looks at Berlinia as she says, Vale, you have sit next to me. And she turns and sort of with a sweeping of her robes, she begins to walk away from you. And she says, come along, Na. And the little bird-like boy sort of just looks up at you, Vale, and kind of through his faux beak, you hear giggling. And then he takes off after his sister. Have the monks summon us, Ashara, when dinner is ready?
Yes, a princess, a Tahoo.
And the princess walks away.
Ashara turns and says, there will be no dinner, a Tahoo, for you.
Well, no dinner for us. That's all right. We brought some dried meats.
Yes, you may rest here, Ahoo, but it would be best, for you must seek the Black Orchid if you wish to go to Omu, a Tahoo.
Is it like a flower, or is that some sort of a metaphor or something? Is that
The
a
Black
metaphor?
Orchid only grows in the nearby ruin of Nangalore, where none of the Arakakra dare go. Ahoo.
Is it like in the water or something? I mean, or is it like just like over there, or is it over there? I mean, can maybe just kind of point a wing? Hey, Eric, you're not doing nothing. Where do you know of this ruins of everything your teacher just said?
Well, you see, well, my cognition is not the best because I am feeling quite a bit peckish.
Right. Well, I mean, isn't there like some sort of some seed or something, or some millet you can just eat, or I don't know what you eat. What do you eat?
You hear
apparently
not a
nothing
vegan.
right now because we are being denied our food.
Okay.
you hear from up above on the walkway. You hear Princess Moxanare's voice. Ashara, you can send them on their quest after they have eaten and rested.
And
For this quest is necessary, but so is dinner.
You guys totally get the sense that Ashara is like caught, like maneuvering, like that is something that is part of her nature to some degree. That having the prince and the princess here is obviously some sort of like a leverage that she sees that she has in terms of whatever her deal is.
And seeing Ashara as a quick moment of weakness when she realizes she's caught, that's when Dunala slides in. And he says to her, I believe the princess is correct. If you want us to find this flower, you will need to eat, to heal, to rest.
Ahoo, you should follow me. Done ala hu to hu.
Follow you.
To dinner, of course.
Of course.
And she turns, sort of stalking off.
Do mind my mother. She is a bit of batty in her old years.
Eric, I have many questions for you, if you have a private room here.
I imagine many rooms here are private. Some more private than others, if you connais bien.
And he doesn't like laugh or anything at your joke, and he just says, we will speak after we eat, Eric.
As you wish.
Eric, you know that it's nearly the usual time of dinner, and while the princess makes a big deal as if every meal is a royal feast. And it is a pretty decent meal. You know that it's nearing that time, so it won't be long before dinner is ready. It'll take a little bit to maneuver back up to the main monastery to where the dining area is. It's not a dining area where everyone eats. It's usually where the princess, her brother, your mother, and a couple of the elders of the monastery typically would eat, and also any visiting guests. In this case, this party here. So you are led by some of the monks up to this area, and they lead you off to an antechamber where there are basins of water where you can clean yourselves, wash your hands, your faces, whatever you need to do prior to the meal. No, they're not going to sing Be Our Guest. And eventually you are led into this area where there is quite a lavish spread laid out of many fruits and berries, some of the local vegetables. But you do see amongst their meats, as the Aarakocra are a bit of omnivores. There are hams, a couple of small dinosaurs, like very small, like you even would probably be able to recognize, having actually seen one burned in a coal pit in the run that you were forced to compete in. You've seen a velociraptor get singed in the coals, so you know what a cooked velociraptor looks like. There are a couple of large platters of yucca beetles, Berlinia. Those will always be at every meal, specifically for Berlinia. And there are several pitchers of Tej on the tray as well. You see as you enter the area that the teacher, that Ashara, stands near the head of the table. On the side, stands next to her chair on the head of the table nearest the entrance to the room. That the couple of elder Aarakocran monks stand, and you are led into the room and instructed to stand as well. And after just a few moments, Princess Moaxinare and her brother Na, who is still wearing some of his feathered plumage, but has doffed the fake beak, they move with no sense of hurry to the head of the table where Princess Moaxinare sits. And you find that this place you were led to, Vale, was closest to Princess Moaxinare's left hand. To her right sits her brother. And then, Eric, you sit to your mother's right hand. Berlinia, you have been seated to Ashara's left hand, about as far away from Princess Moaxinare as you could be seated. And then, Dunala, you sit on the one side of the table, a couple of these elder monks, and a couple of other monks come in and begin handing out platters and passing the food around and filling plates for you. As you begin eating and drinking, Moaxinare speaks up and says, "So," and she seems to turn more towards Vale, but speaking loud enough for everyone to hear. "So, the three of you, well, I suppose if you are traveling with Eric, is it? Then the four of you would call yourselves the heroes of Chult, the saviors of Omu?
I mean, your grace. Right now, I think we're just the folks who are really trying hard to stay alive in this hellish green nightmare of a land. But yeah, no. I mean, we saviors of Omu or Chult. Yeah, it works. It works. What do you think, Brill?
Well,
Quickly, just
she immediately talks over as you say this. She kind of gives a glance. You see her glance towards you, Berlinia, and she immediately continues talking. I have sent out missives throughout all of my holdings and principalities, and I have no doubt that Waterdeep, Neverwinter, Baldur's Gate, the Principality of any of these regions are gathering thousands of soldiers as we speak in preparation to aid me in taking back Omu.
Was it the Aarakocra who carried these messages for you, my queen?
Some of the messages were carried by Aarakocra. Some were dispatched on vessels leaving from Port Nyanzaru and heading north all along the Sword Coast. I have been sending missives for quite some time now.
Dunala looks like directly at Ashar, like eye to eye directly at her, and then goes back to his food.
Ashara goes, Tahoo. But turning then to Berlinia, asks her, says, tell me, Tahoo, of this veil, Tahoo. Is he of noble blood?
No, I don't think so. He,
Is he a good man?
Oh, well, yes, of course. He's very brave, very kind.
Ah, brave and kind.
He's quite... He is... Yeah, he's the best to be chosen.
I see. And you believe he will be successful, Tahoo?
Successful? And
the doom of Omu, of course. The reason everyone left Ahoo.
He will break the curse. Teacher. And he says the word teacher very slowly.
Yes, of course, the death curse. Yes, that is why we are here, and I am certain that we...
And the undead.
Yes. The undead that roam the jungle. They are the curse, the doom of Omu. Long before any death curse.
Ubtao works through veil. He has healed me many times. He has healed others. He has removed the diseases of Chult from the sick. He has destroyed many undead with his own hands and his own sword. There is no better predator that Ubkao could have chosen beyond Veil Istafal.
Is this true, Veil Istafal? That you are chosen by the absentee god of Chult, Ubtao?
Well, Your Greatness, possibly. I don't actually know. I found this symbol while I was digging around up north, and suddenly I just have these abilities, and
We can provide a demonstration.
The Snake Man says that you have healed him many times, and she takes your hand and sort of turns it over and is studying your palm of your hand. She traces a nail across the palm of your hand. tracing small circles, and says, "With these hands, you have summoned the power of Ubtao and healed your allies."
Yeah, well, I've healed Dunala and another friend, and then I'll look and just let my gaze fall on Brillinia just a little bit longer, and Brill, um, we work together, and together, all of us are going to find a stop to this curse. We will bring peace and safety back to Chult.
Like all good rulers, those who are chosen by the gods must also choose their servants. And it appears as though, through you, Ubtao has chosen these individuals to aid you in your quest, Vale.
No. They're not servants.
Indeed, he has chosen.
They're my equals. These people are my equals. They're my friends. Nobody serves me. If anything, I serve them because I do what I can to keep them alive because I care about them. Chosen by a god or not, Your Majesty.
Vale, make me a charisma roll. And I want a persuasion roll.
Persuasion, you say? It's a good thing I put points into
you
that.
just got a little mouthy with the princess there.
Since I've been gassing Vale up, could that count as the help action?
Roll me a gaslighting
You know
check.
what? I will allow you to help.
Take
so
that
you can roll
advantage,
that
baby.
with advantage.
You know what? I'm okay. I'm okay, I'll roll it anyway. Yeah, I was okay at the first roll, so but yeah, that's a 25.
You see in Princess Moxinare, something flashes through her eyes. For just a moment, you see a micro expression of anger. And she presses just a little more firmly than is a tender touch with the nail that was tracing your palm as you sort of speak firmly back to her. But then she catches herself and she places her hand flat on your hand, in your hand, and she smiles, though it's a bit forced, and she says, "Certainly, Vale. I meant no insults to you or to the god Ubtao. But enough of this. As I understand, you are here to be the saviors of Omu and to end this death curse that plagues us all and prevents me from taking my proper place at the throne. I will tell you my story, and then Ashara, the teacher, will tell you how she can help you to achieve your quest, though you must first do something for her. I am myself and my brother, Na, are the only living descendants of the royal families of Omu. And we are the heirs to the kingdom. We have been here under the kind hospitality of Ashara and her monastery. My great-grandmother, Nepaka, was the last ruling queen of Omu. My father, Omek, died in a fall. And my mother, Razan, was killed by the Terra folk. I am not ashamed to admit that when our parents were taken from us, Na and I were afraid. And were it not for the kindness of Ashara and her monastery. I fear what may have happened to us. And you see, in that moment, you see a bit of true vulnerability. Even Ashara, I think this is probably the first time you've ever heard Moxanare admit this since the time when she was first brought to you. Her and her brother were first brought to you. You're seeing a momentary sort of lifting of the veil of power. She seems to momentarily be showing her true self. And then, just as quickly, it sort of, that royal posture takes over. For in our absence, I fear for what would have happened to Omu and the rest of our realms. For I believe that if you are chosen by Ubtao, then perhaps you are the heroes chosen to free Omu from the darkness that dwells there, to rid the land of the death curse, and to restore my kingdom, where you will be hailed as heroes of the realm. But it is no easy thing to get to Omu, this far to the south, through deadly journeys, through deadly, dangerous jungles filled with numerous undead. But Ashara and her people can aid you in even this part of the quest. And so Ashara will tell you what you must do next.
Tahoo, to get to Omu, you must take on the power of the Arakakra, the power of Kir Sabal, the power of flight. But to perform the ritual, I need a black orchid. And we all know of only one place where they grow. Tahoo. Find the orchid, bring it back, and I shall make you fly. Hoo. You guys see Ashara seems to be looking at her son with like this beaming pride as he has been included in these heroes to sort of lift the doom of Omu.
I mean,
You can definitely tell with how Eric is like ruffling his feathers that he is also very prideful about the fact that he gets to be included in this group of people who are designated as heroes.
it's fair. You know, what we could also do is give me 3 stout members of your group and enough wood to build ourselves a catapult, launch us off of the top of Kir Sabal, probably do the same thing. The landing's going to hurt, but I mean, I'm sure we'll survive that. Right, Dunella? I mean, Brill will be all right. She can fly, and Eric will be all right. He can fly, but I'm sure you and I are made out of stern stuff. Or we just walk it off.
There's a moment. There's a moment where Moxanare looks at you very confused, Vale. And
He is joking.
she doesn't get your joke. She looks at you and she in earnestness, gripping now with the one hand that was still sort of touching yours, she takes her other hand and places it on your wrist. And in a sense of concern, she kind of grips it tightly and she says, "While I admire your bravery to attempt such a thing, Vale, surely, especially from these heights, that would be deadly, and you would no longer be able to serve us."
You're right, Your Grace. I guess we'll go have to find that black flower after all.
You hear Berlinia just kind of snort as she covers up a laugh.
Dunala fixes Belenia with the coldest gaze he possibly can.
Yes, Your Grace. Well, we'll find this black orchid.
Seek out the ruins of Nangalore, but beware the evil birds that dwell there. The Iblis. Tahoo.
Sorry, you'll forgive me, teacher, the Iblis.
Tahoo.
What sort of a creature is this?
They walk on 2 legs, but have no arms. They
Oh.
have evil intent, but no words for your ears.
Ah, right, so they speak common. I understand. Well, I think it's nothing we can't handle. I mean, just gonna throw this one out there. Your scholarliness. I mean, instead of just like, do you want us to bring us back one each or just one flower? Do you want us to bring back a bunch so maybe you don't have to send some poor bastards to do this again? Like, you know, just to be that person to kind of help other folk out.
If you wish, the quest will be difficult. Do as well as you can. Tahoo.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Why do you need this flower?
The flower is used in the ritual. Good done Allah Tahoo.
I have counted many Aarakocra warriors since I've been here. Your son, neither the least nor the greatest of any of them. Why have you yet to get the flower yourself if it is so important?
Kir Sabal is a sanctuary in the chaos of Chult. We protect something of great value here. Tahoo.
I suppose a prison is a very effective sanctuary, yes.
Those who can fly can leave whenever they wish. Tahoo.
Those that can fly. And he repeats the words back to her, staring at her. And then he leans in just a little bit more, maybe just like an inch or so. And he asks you, Ashara, and how long do those who cannot fly, how long are they forced to stay here, Ashara?
You speak of the royals we protect. Once their kingdom has been restored, they must travel to Omu.
And if we had never come here to find your flower for your ritual, or to go to Omu, then they would have never left.
No, but their progeny would have stayed with us. And they will, unless you fail.
Interesting, Ashara. Interesting. And he goes back to his food.
Dunala. Moxanare speaks to you.
My queen.
Am I correct in understanding that you are implying that Ashara and the monks are holding us here against our will?
I imply no such thing, my queen.
She stares at you for a moment. Good. I would see you sooner rather than later achieve this goal. We have made arrangements here. Ashara is kind enough to allow some of the sleeping cells be made available for you individually or however you choose to pair yourselves up. Get a full night's rest. What was that?
Is it immediately Eric looks at Dunala when she says that?
Get a full night's rest so that you may set out on your quest in the morning, rested and re-energized. It is still fairly early, but I think you will need your energies. I will see you off in the morning, and I hope, and she looks at you, Vale, and grips your hand one last time, I hope to see you return with the Black Orchid so that you may receive the benefits of this ritual and be the first among my heroes of Omu. And that is where we are going to end tonight's session. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Ken for taking on the role of Ashara. I immediately fell in love with the Tahoo. Tahoo. I'm not entirely certain how I would have portrayed Ashara had I done it myself, but a few weeks ago when Ken and I, actually Ken has said it throughout the summer, but a few weeks ago when Ken and I were communicating, or we were in one of our talks about our adventure mixtape, available now on Drive-Thru-RPG adventure project, he was always quick to say, hey, if you ever need a fill-in or a guest star or whatever, just I'm available. And I said, the last time I said, you know what? I do have a thing you could do. And I pretty much, I know Ken has a familiarity with Tomb of Annihilation, and I gave him pretty free reign to play Ashara how he wanted to. And I absolutely love the direction you went with Ashara and the way you played off of Princess Moxinare's. You kind of very much showcase that dichotomy between being the leader of the monastery and the showing a little bit of supplication to your wards, as it were. So I also wanted to point out near the end there, you guys may have noticed you gained a new domain devil domain die. Right near the end, Forgebreaker raided us with a party of 9. So Forgebreaker's a friend of the channel. So I don't know if you're still there or not, but thank you, Forgebreaker, for the raid. Earned the party a domain devil face, which they burned through a couple of those on the climb up Kirsabal. So mechanically, Berlinia, you will be free of your 1 level of exhaustion after your rest. We will pick up next week with the beginning of the quest, and depending on whether or not the party survives and how everything goes, if they make it back to here to Kirsabal, we hope that Ken, you are able to join us again to reprise your role as Ashara. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. This was very much an RP session. Marquise, I saw your comment in there. I wasn't sure if we were ever going to make our way to Nangalore. And I know that this is going to be, I think this next section is very indicative, very much kind of showcases some of what Tomb of Annihilation is all about. So with that, a couple things for me real quick. Remember to subscribe, hit the follow buttons. Over on YouTube, we are, last I checked, I think we're at like 8,485 subscribers on YouTube. When we hit 9,000, which is just 515 away, I will make an announcement of a big multi-prize 10,000 subscriber giveaway. You can follow us on Twitch or YouTube, or you can use your Amazon Prime account to link to Twitch and get 1 free subscription every month that you can use on Mini Terrain Domain. You can also support Mini Terrain Domain at patreon.com/Mini Terrain Domain. Give it a look, see what you see there if you like the levels of support. And I have very clear goals laid out about how I plan to utilize the support to help the channel to grow and to bring more cool things to you, the audience, and to you, the players. Finally, be sure, I'm going to drop it in the chat one more time. Go to Drive-Thru-RPG, follow that link. You can check out the adventure mixtape and anthology, or excuse me, a music and adventure anthology. Ken and I have both written adventures in that, along with Kelsey Dion of the Arcane Library and Sharong Biswas. You get 4 adventures across 80 pages. That are, I mean, come on, you get, well, that's weird. It says page not found if you follow my link. So do this. Go to Drive-Thru RPG. I don't know why I did that. Go to Drive-Thru RPG and look for Adventure Mixtape. And you will get the Treaty of the Tiger King by the Arcane Library. You will get the Madness of the Majestic Menagerie, which is by Ken from Burling's Beard. You will get the Infernal Collection by Sharang Biswas. Big City Adventure, Murder Mystery, Fashion Show. It's a pretty awesome adventure. Very unique adventure. And finally, Gorillas in Their Midst, as Ken called it, the Player Killer. It's a Indiana Jones inspired pulp action adventure with some deadly challenges in it. We have, some of the writers on this is my first published adventure. Ken has published prior to this. Sharang is an award-winning game designer, and has amazing games that he has designed as independent RPGs or that he's been a part of and that he has written on. And then Kelsey Dion of the Arcane Library has put out tons of content that we've run on this channel as well. So you get quite a variety of content with that. So please check that out. I'm going to throw it to each of these people to tell us their final words, where you can find them, by way of closing out this game tonight. So we are going to start this time with Mr. Marquise.
Hey guys, I'm Marquise. Great session. Ken, I'm glad you're here because I like the interplay between Ashara and Dunala. Go to scavengerworld.net and you'll find what I'm working on right now. 5th edition setting, going to be some spicy stuff. Other than that, I'm Marquise, and good stuff, man. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
All right. Next up is Connor.
That happens to be my name, so I'll talk. I am Connor. I had fun playing the Birdman, who is also a Birdman. You can find me on Dice on Ice. I think it's Twitter or something. I don't know how the kids do these days. There's a little thingy here. You can probably type that into some kind of search bar, and things will pop up or something. I don't know. This was fun. Thanks for having me on here. And with that said, I am gonna stop talking.
I dropped a new link into both chats so you can actually follow to our product. Next up, Megan.
Hey, I'm Megan. I am the other half of Dice on Ice and all the affiliated stuff with that. And yeah, I love Berlinia. She's my first campaign character, like long-running campaign character. So it's really cool to see just all the dynamics that have gone on throughout this whole campaign. So it's super awesome, and I always look forward to these days.
Speaking of long running, this is episode 31, and we are rapidly approaching. This month will be, I'll have to double check, but I think it's right after Thanksgiving marks our 1-year anniversary of not only this campaign, but this was how I kicked off my Twitch channel, was with this campaign. So it's kind of a big anniversary coming up that we all get to share in. So next we're going to go to Mike. Also, ooh, Mike, real quick, before I forget, you get a point of inspiration because I caught your crossover comments when you were talking to the princess. You were name dropping something that was referencing our Waterdeep Dragon Heist campaign, All That Glitters, that takes place tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. right here, that Mike is the DM of.
Just tie that up.
I noticed it, and I meant to say something there.
Good. Then you know what? Because I'm the DM for tomorrow, you get a point of inspiration.
That's how it works. I'm glad that deal that we made worked out, and that Megan totally gets screwed over.
Conspiracy, I say. It's a conspiracy.
It's
because
totally
Megan is a player in that campaign as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to play in this game. It's been just an absolutely amazing campaign. You can find me down. Let's see if I do it right. I did. Boop. So yeah, just boop the snoot on the Twitter handle there if you guys want to follow me. I talk to I write out stupid shit, and some people like it. Go figure. But come check us out tomorrow on this channel with the crafting news and big bearded nerd Dwight, as we and of course the incredibly amazing Megan, and well, yeah, I guess Jake, just because it's his channel. But we're gonna play next session of All That Glitters when they finally get to open up all of Waterdeep. So I get to pull the train of this campaign off the tracks and let it go and watch them all crash and burn. So I'm very excited. And that is all from me.
I am looking forward to this. And so finally, we're going to throw it to our guest for joining us tonight. Ken, tell us where we can find you and take us out.
Of course. Well, first of all, thank you so much to my fellow players. This was a real pleasure to game with y'all. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Jake, for having me on the channel. I have been asking for a while, and I'm very happy it finally worked out. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's watching this or will be watching this. Really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us and to enjoy this story. I'm Ken. You can find me at Berling's Beard, BERLINGS. Beard. I am a independent RPG content creator and freelance dungeon master in the New York City area. As Jake was saying, we just put out the Adventure Mixtape, which is a great product. Please check that out if you get a chance. And definitely keep watching this show because it rules. And again, thank you all so much. Hope to see you online. And if you're at PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia at the end of November, definitely hit me up. Would love to meet up and just say hi.
Excellent. Thank you so much again, Ken, for joining us. As I said, Ken has played as a character in one of my games before on the channel. And we're glad to have you here and hope to have you back as Ashara in the future and possibly even as other characters. So with that, we are going to end the show the same way we end every show here. And you can say it with me if you want, with the big old metadata.